shoot them up with, tuberculosis, chemical weapons, biological weapons, killing our troops, horrible testing on prisoners. More than happy to do that. Still, there was enough culture in the military that you couldn't get the military scientists and weapons developers to sign off and agree to have the troops use something like DU in general that would debilitate all the troops that came in contact with it. It was one thing with a mad scientist who'd been selectively, psychologically profiled to say, we're going to take foster children in case America gets attacked by, in a nuclear war. We've got to know what happens with children and radiation, so we're going to radiate thousands of them. We're going to kill them. The end justifies the means. The few don't matter, the many matter. That collectivist idea. But that was really just a test. They could test it on mammals and know what it would do. It was really just a test to build cadres of men that would do whatever they were told, including grabbing kids out of schoolyards, little kids, and doing horrible experiments, brain surgeries, you name it on them, and turning them into Manchurian candidates. That was declassified in the 80s. Tens of thousands of U.S. children were taken. Many of them, it turned out, from prominent families because they would want healthy, good-looking children and would be turned into completely new people, completely programmed. Dr. Ewing Cameron and others did that. And this is all admitted if you want to look it up. Write these names down. So this evil was festering. Really, it was being done by the ruling class because they liked kidnapping little kids. Really, it was being done because they liked frying children. And the programs would usually come to an end. After radiating 4,000 plus children in the U.S., people got upset. They said, we thought you were only going to kill so many. Well, you're just killing kids for fun. So those programs got shut down. So they went overseas to do the programs. They got Israel to radiate 110,000 of their own kids in the ringworm children study, killing many of them. And I've got all this news, and I've got my challenge here for you. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear this. So this is scary stuff. No, what's scary is knowing this and not doing something about it. Not realizing, hey, this government isn't our government. And if it takes us where it wants to go, it's going to do everything it's done behind closed doors at an underground basis on a mass scale. Because I talked about Trinity and Beyond yesterday, the documentary from the 90s, where it showed the nuclear testing history and showed our so-called government trying to ignite the atmosphere with hydrogen bombs and trying to blow holes in the atmosphere. And there are studies out there showing that that's when the bigger ozone holes actually formed, was them detonating. Our government, nobody else did this, detonated hundreds of weapons in the atmosphere, the upper atmosphere, to see if they could destroy the Earth's atmosphere. Again, these are pit demons. The best movie analogy would be The Fifth Element, where that evil, asteroid's coming in, and it's controlling the weapons salesman on Earth psychically, Zor, or whatever his name is, Zorg. And they're like, well, what does it want? It just wants to kill everybody. Well, what's it going to do? It's going to kill the Earth. It wants to kill. I mean, it's basically, these people might as well be Zorg or Zworg. I mean, that's art imitating life. That's what they're like. They get off on it. The more evil, the blacker, the more destructive. They're like moths to a satanic flame. And we've got to stop them. Now, I'm sorry, I've got my challenge in the news coming up. The point is that we're beyond Caligula marrying his horse, or Nero dressing up like a werewolf in ancient Rome and murdering children at public banquets for his own enjoyment. And I won't go into how he murdered them. It's pretty graphic if you go look it up. The point is that we're beyond that. Now crazy people like that have antimatter weapons. And the Air Force admitted in the San Francisco Chronicle about 10 years ago that they have antimatter weapons. They just wanted to menace everyone with them, and then the story got shut down. But they do have antimatter weapons. They are messing with strangelets, black holes. They are creating these. The end of the world isn't coming December 21st. I'll guarantee you that. But it could be the end of the world any time with these crazies. Now, imagine a military which wouldn't let the troops use DU and wouldn't even allow it to be fired from aircraft at enemies until 1990. And they let them use it. And first it was in the Vulcan gun and the A-10 War Dogs, and it was in the Bradley fighting vehicles and in the Sabos, fired out of the Bradleys, and in the Abrams A1, M1, I forget all the technical specifications. The point is that then they just made a decision. They just said, serve it out in 50 cal, every other caliber. Have the troops move right into bases that have been bombed. It shows that mindset where they say, oh, we'll just deploy it in case the Russians pour into Europe. It was deployed by the 50s over in Europe. But just sitting there in an emergency, if infantry's overrun, then you get this out. But by the way, you wear a gas mask and you decontaminate yourself and you still may die. You understand you're part of units that have volunteered to stay behind here in Germany if the Russians overrun. Special forces. Yes, we understand. This is deadly, and it's basically we're going to be dying young if we use this. We volunteer. Till 1990, they just say, have them all use it. To now, they've got it at not just proving grounds, hundreds of them in the U.S. alone, Hawaii, places like Puerto Rico. I mean, they use it like a half mile from neighborhoods, and people complain and get arrested and stuff. This is the madness of these people. I mean, we have a ruling class that tried to blow up the atmosphere and set the atmosphere on fire. And they admit they did. I mean, and it's on TV, and it's funny. And now they're trying to do it there at the Hadron Collider. And you've got all of this going on, and they've got the troops using DU, and then they want me to salute the troops when I see them at a football game, or they want me to get a... And it's all tyrants that have attached the mantle of what our republic was. And it was never perfect, but it was better than others. At least the ideals were good. What we were striving for was good. They've now attached all their evil with this. So it's an example of how they use a crisis to deploy something and then, of course, later start using it. And it's the perfect weapon. The globalists made the decision because it kills the enemy on both sides. They want to kill you as a veteran. And I told you this over a decade ago. Now it's declassified. The whole Homeland Security system, the big armored vehicles, the checkpoints, the SWAT teams, the CERT teams, the intelligence units, they're not watching Al-Qaeda. In fact, they're ordered not to. They're watching you. Because the reason they're not allowed to watch Al-Qaeda is because Al-Qaeda is CIA, MI6, and Mossad, and Saudi intelligence. It is. In triplicate, an absolute, undisputed fact. And so here's my challenge to all of you in the military and to the police and all of you. This stuff's out in the open. That's how God works. This stuff's all out in the open. People like me are here so you get to hear what's really going on. I lay out the facts. You get to make decisions and decide like Nineveh whether you're going to repent or not. And by repenting, that doesn't mean just going to the church and giving the little glitter bugs some money. That doesn't mean... going to one of these 501c3s and hearing how you worship the corrupt government. No. Repenting means asking God, and if you don't believe in God, whatever, meditating on it, saying, hey, I know we're in trouble as a culture. God, please guide me in what I should do to resist this. And if you won't do that, then you've made a decision. Because all of you know deep down we're in trouble. You know evil's taken over, and it's really getting ready to run wild. See, everybody thinks stuff's crazy right now. This is only the preparation. This is like an army lining up on our border, or a SWAT team stacking up outside your house. Everything you've seen is just the enemy stacking up, about to come in. And when the hammer drops and the crises expand, it's going to be harder to shape the battlefield. We need to shape the spectrum of debate now and inject as much truth as we can, like the world is about to go into a crisis and we're not going to be able to communicate as easy. We need to inject truth 24/7 right now. So here's my challenge. I want you to look up the call letters. I want you to look up your local affiliates, TV, radio, print. I want you to go to Infowars.com, but it's all over. London Telegraph, LA Times, BBC, Associated Press, New York Times. And I want you to go down and see the program directors of the TV and radio. Or if you know them at your church or your gym or wherever. And I want you to tell them, listen, our whole society is being overthrown. Our liberties are being taken. The TSA is abusing our children because we're told Al-Qaeda is going to attack us while it's in the news that Al-Qaeda is being funded and trained by the CIA and MI6, and it's admitted that they started the Civil War and started the attack, and it is a war crime what's happening. They're taking families and saying, we're going to kill your kids if you don't drive this truck full of explosives into that police station. I mean, folks, this evil's gone on for a while, but the fact that it can be out in the open, the fact that this is going on, the challenge is it's time to recognize this for what it is. I mean, I've got the articles right here now where it's totally admitted that the whole thing in Syria and Libya was started by our criminal government and NATO, and they plan to do it all over the Middle East to put jihadis in and let Saudi Arabia take over the entire Middle East. And it's just too rich. It's too much for me to see TSA on the streets and regular Army and giant black Homeland Security vehicles driving around. And paramilitary police bugging their eyes out at you if you photo or videotape them, acting like you're a terrorist in this whole dress-up, play-along thing, which is really a martial law takeover system to start purges against the American people. And they said it was for Al-Qaeda when their own documents say it's for us. Our government isn't our government. It runs Al-Qaeda. It runs everything. The word. To quantify my challenge, it's really this. Wake up to the fact that our government is not our government. It is illegitimate, and it is beyond criminal. And it's becoming more criminal by the day, and it's a lot bigger than Barack Obama. We sent the guys out last night to do a review of the new 2016, Obama 2016, and it's basically a neocon film. And whereas I'm not a fan of Obama, it basically says he's a secret Muslim who wants to hand everything over to Al-Qaeda. And in a way that's true, but not in the way they're saying. Al-Qaeda is publicly run by the banksters that use it everywhere to take over and destabilize countries. Want to fight the Russians? Use them. Want to go after the Serbs? Use them. Want to take down Gaddafi? Use them. Want to take down these countries? Use them. And then they get on the news and act all moral. Assad, out of the blue, has the military shooting demonstrators. It was on the news overseas that they were blowing up government buildings. Our media called them peaceful protesters. They had aircraft and tanks in Libya the first few months, and they were calling them peaceful protesters. That's how dumb they think you are, and it's incredibly immoral. Just like it's immoral to have the troops on television, BBC, Fox News, you name it. When the troops started talking, going, hey, we grow the opium, and so